Going on, people? Joey talks boxing. Well, let's talk about this recent news. I know I've been out for a long time, but busy with stuff, but I felt like making a video on this. Jake Paul versus Gevonta Davis. Gevonta Davis versus Jake Paul, however you want to call it. An exhibition fight. Everyone wants to kind of talk about all these things. Is it good for boxing? Is it bad for boxing? Do you blame Gevonta Davis? We're going to give a full breakdown. Boxing's credibility in America is at a zero, even before this. Now, boxing's credibility in America is even lower. Do I blame Gevonta Davis for taking this fight? No, I don't blame him. Who's going to turn down that kind of money? Nobody. Artur Beterbiev, Daniel Dubois, a bunch of people called Jake Paul out, so everyone wants to get paid. I don't blame Tank Davis. And the people that blame Tank Davis, I don't know why you blame Tank Davis, especially if you were a long-time Tank Davis supporter, because Gevonta Davis has always been pretty apparent that he's here for the money. He said he doesn't care about being one of the all-time greats. It's about the money for him, coming out of poverty, trying to get as much as he can. So I don't get a person who was a hardcore Gevonta Davis fan that is like disappointed by this. To me, you were just an idiot. I blame the sport of boxing for something like this happening, where we let all these things happen, cross matches between MMA fighters and boxers, non-professional boxers taking on professional boxers, YouTube boxing, all these things. Because there's no overseer, this is what happens. And all these things are bad for boxing. So is it bad for boxing? Of course. Is MMA bad for boxing? Yes. People are going to say, why? Because that takes away from the big boxing matches, because instead people watch the MMA fights and we don't get Virgil Ortiz versus Jaron Ennis. We don't get Canelo versus David Benavidez. I know Canelo's ducking him. That's his own thing. We don't get Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua when we're supposed to get it because there's not enough money in it. If there was no MMA, there'd be more money in boxing. There's so many times people ask me, they talk to me, what sports do you like? I say, I like boxing. And they start bringing up MMA. They're like, yeah, Conor McGregor, UFC. No, boxing. But your average person doesn't know the difference. I think that Jake Paul is, an extension of taking advantage of an untapped market. And all these things are bad for American boxing. And it's just going to keep getting worse. I think to the idiots who bought all these Gevonta Davis fights, Leo Santa Cruz, Rolly Romero, Isaac Cruz, Hector Garcia, even Lamont Roach, that last fight, that was supposed to be a cherry pick. To all those people who did that, supported a guy when you should not have been paying for those pay-per-views. They were not pay-per-view material. This is what you get. You built this guy up, so now he's going to go do something like this. So I don't blame Tank. I blame the system of boxing and the people for doing this. I blame Al Haymon. I blame Leonard Ellerbe. I blame Floyd Mayweather. As great of a fighter as Floyd Mayweather is, his legacy is that he did do some damage to the sport of boxing. He helped fighters make money, but he did damage to the sport. It's just undeniable with this whole mentality of trying to make the most amount of money with the least risk. Great for you personally, but it's bad for the sport. I think Mayweather-McGregor was bad for boxing. I think all these things are bad for boxing. And if you had it in a different sport where, let's say in the UFC, in MMA, Dana White had the opportunity to make Israel Adesanya versus Jake Paul, even if it was more money, I don't think he would do it because he understands the long-term vision of the sport. And what makes UFC the UFC is the credibility. That's why they got a $7 billion deal. That's why in boxing we have this, because we don't treat our sport with credibility. We don't have anyone who's looking after the betterment of the sport, not the betterment of their promotional company or their own personal interest, the betterment of the sport. It's almost like if you had a celebrity NBA team of Kevin Hart, Usher, Justin Bieber, Barack Obama, all on the same team, and they wanted to play against the best NBA team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. The NBA wouldn't allow that. They'd say, no, we're not doing that because that's bad for our sport. We may have a celebrity basketball game, but we're not going to take our sport and devalue it. And when a person who doesn't know much about the NBA or wants to get into the NBA goes into watch an NBA game, they know this is the highest level of NBA basketball. This is the highest level of basketball in the world. These are the best players in the world, the best coaches in the world. We are treating this with the seriousness. We don't do that in boxing. So Yeah, when you allow Ngannou to fight Tyson Fury, when Ngannou's never fought a professional boxing match, and then he gets to fight Anthony Joshua after that, even if it is an exhibition, it's still unacceptable. When you allow Mayweather versus McGregor, that's bad for the sport. When you allow Jake Paul to, have a career that he's had, and I wouldn't even blame Jake Paul. Jake Paul's his own thing. I look at Jake Paul like that's not even boxing, and I don't even care about Jake Paul until he starts fighting people that are in boxing like Gevonta Davis. It's bad. We're not going to get Gevonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. If you get Gevonta Davis versus Jake Paul, Gevonta might just say, I'm good on that. Or even if he does fight Shakur Stevenson, he's got one foot out the door. So at the end of the day, I get it that it's business, but is it bad for boxing? Absolutely. And when I say boxing, I don't mean the promoters and the fighters and, there are fans that watch it, so it's good. No, I mean for people like me and for people like you who watch this channel. Like, we want to see legitimate, high-level, great boxing matches. We care about the sport, not about how much money Gevonta Davis gets, not about what is good for whatever promotional company, what is good for the sport. And this is bad for the sport. So I don't blame Gevonta Davis, and I don't blame Jake Paul. I blame the people and the system that allowed them to get to this place, especially Gevonta, because you rewarded him with all of these pay-per-views that were not worthy of being pay-per-view all these years. This is what you get in return. Thanks a lot. That's what I got to say about that. I don't even blame so much Al Heyman and Floyd Mayweather and Larry because they have financial interest in it. I blame the idiots who fell for this, Gevonta Davis. That's what I blame. That's what I got to say. Let me know what you guys think. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Peace.